Greetings and welcome. My name is Ryan O'Rourke from Stay Creative Painting. I truly hope you enjoy today's 10-minute painting. This new series essentially illustrates my attempts at creating a painting in a very short period of time. Sometimes I succeed, sometimes I do not, but that's what keeps it interesting and fun, so stick around and enjoy the tips and tricks. Of course, if you have any questions or inquiries regarding today's lesson, please leave me a comment in the comment section down below. I'm always here and happy to help. Speaking of help, if you'd like assistance with the drawing process, I do offer the traceable along with the extended version of this 10-minute painting lesson up over on Patreon, where you can find a back catalog of over 50 exclusive hour-long lessons and their traceables as well. Up over on Patreon, we also have a private Facebook group where we all kind of share our work, help each other out. It's a great place for artists to kind of keep each other engaged and make sure that we're consistently creating together. It's also a great way to share your work with me. On top of that, over at the Alpine level of Patreon, I've also just added all 5 of my ebooks, including Acrylics for Beginners, which essentially is the essential, is everything you need to know about acrylic painting before you jump into your first acrylic painting. In it, we talk about how to blend our colors, about color theory, about creating great compositions, rendering 3-dimensional subjects, which brushes to use, really everything you need to know. And it's also offered individually over on my Etsy. Speaking of ebooks, again, for those of you who don't love the drawing process, I do have 3 ebooks full of traceables over on Patreon and Etsy. So if you're interested in any of that, go check it out. It is full of great resources, and I'm sure it'll help you just really speed up that process of getting to be a better painter. With that said, I would like to note that again, I am here and happy to help. So if you have any questions, again, let me know. Now let's jump into today's 10-minute painting lesson. Before we actually jump into this, I would like to quickly mention the colors on our palette. Here I have a primary red, burnt umber, burnt sienna, primary blue, primary yellow, titanium white, Mars black. I also have a light blue permanent and a brilliant purple, but I don't think I'll use these two. They're kind of there just in case. With that, let's jump into it. I'm going to begin here today with my larger flat-headed brush. I'm going to make sure that the tip of it is a little bit damp. Then I'm going to grab a lot of titanium white paint, mix in about 1/3 of that in primary blue, and make this really nice afternoon sky color. And I'm going to apply this over here on my palette in between all of my subjects. That includes the trees in the background and the tree right here in the foreground. And I'm being relatively loose with this because I'm not too concerned about going over my foreground. I did a lot of the drawing with a fine tip Sharpie, and generally you can see that through the first couple layers of acrylic paint. Now when I start to run out of paint, I don't try to blend it out as far as I can. I go back to my palette, I grab more, and this is just so that I get a nice consistent application. There we go. Then I'll just smooth it out with a light touch back and forth horizontally, and I'll clean that brush relatively well. We will need it soon. So now I'll switch to my older flat-headed brush. I'll grab some primary yellow, a good amount. I'll grab about 1/3 of that of primary blue, work those two together, grab a hint of Mars black to darken it, and this will essentially be the base color for all of our trees here in the background. And I'm just going to tap them on with this older flat-headed brush, and as you can see, it just renders all of these little implications of foliage and leaves so easily. Saves us a lot of time and effort and creates these strokes that we really couldn't create any other way with a brush because they're just so small and finite. They're also relatively randomized, which makes it look really natural as well. When we get higher with it, I always start at the bottom and then I work my way up. But as we work our way up, we start to allow that paint to dissipate a little bit, and it also works its way into the blue, and you get this really nice blend, and it looks like the light is just working its way through the tops of these trees. We get a bit of a gradient. It looks nice and 3-dimensional. And if you're ever wondering how to make something look 3-dimensional in a painting, you just wrap light around a subject. You figure out where that subject is, where that light source is, and how to make one side lighter than the other. So that's essentially what I'm doing. I'll make a little bit of a darker green as well. I'll just go back, add that to the bottom, work it up to about the halfway point, and this is just going to give me a little bit of extra depth, going to allow it to dissipate as we get farther to the right there, with the idea that we just don't see as much contrast in the background because of perspective and reflective light. There we go. Now I'm going to switch over to my larger flat-headed brush again, and we'll create some water in our waterfall. I'll take some primary blue, mix that in with the titanium white and primary blue mixture that we had before. I'll come up to the top, and then I'll just make this nice long stroke down, and I'll kind of correct it a couple of times. Be careful about not grabbing any of that green that we just worked in. That might still be wet. And if you want it to be absolutely perfect, wait for that green to dry entirely, and you will be in a much more safe position. Here you can see I'm just continuously dragging it down. I'm allowing some of those brush strokes to show through. They will look quite nice as falling water. And you know what, now I'll go down to the bottom, work my way up. It's just a more comfortable position to paint from. This is our second 10-minute painting back after our extended break, and I feel like I'm really getting the hang of it. Something I do need to watch out for, though, is my hand being in the way while doing the paintings. I am aware that that does happen, and I will avoid it to the best of my abilities. And I'll also get better at it as we get back into the swing of things with these hour-long lessons. So there, I just made a long stroke across the top. That way I could kind of define that top area, make sure that I don't go into the green, and now I can just grab that paint and start moving it downwards. Going over my lines, my drawings, again, I'm not worried about it. I'll grab some primary blue, a little bit of Mars black, create a bit of a darker mixture. Apply this to the bottom and work it up. And I'll try to get as straight of a line as I possibly can. There we go. Do that a couple times. Grab some more, work our way over here. Need to mix a bit more paint for this. There we go. That'll be really dark. Give us a lot of depth in the water. Now you can see that I'm kind of stopping at that halfway point. That's just because I don't want it to get too dark too quickly as we move up. However, I'm going to go back to all of it and just kind of smooth it out so that we get an even progression from top to bottom. There we go. We'll just fill in a couple of the little areas we may have missed. Nice and easy. We can also make a slightly lighter blue, come into the top, and work that down as well. Want to use a fairly soft stroke here so you get a smooth blend. There we go. Looks really nice. Now, I will move on to my medium-sized flat-headed brush, and I'll drop it. And then I'll worry because I only have 10 minutes. Getting closer to 3 now. I'll grab some burnt umber, a little bit of Mars black, work those two together, and I'll start creating some rocks over here along the side of the waterfall. And I'll allow it to kind of get lost in some of the water. That way it looks like the water's moving in front of it, behind it, and it's just going to give it this really neat three-dimensional look where it looks like water is passing right through our rock. Now I'll grab some more, work that onto the other side here. It's kind of a separation between the front and the back of the waterfall. There we go. So far, so good. Now, I'll move on to the tree, and the clusters of foliage up there, and we'll do that in the same way we created the trees before. Primary yellow, Mars black, and a lot of tapping. Right now we're just creating the base layer. We'll go back over with a highlight and build some depth in there. But this will give us a nice foundation to build on top of, and a lot of detail really, really quickly. There we go. This is so much fun to get back to. It's a real challenge. That said, you don't have to paint this in 10 minutes. You can take your time, you can have fun with it, really expand on things. All of that is quite fair. I'll also add some of this grass down here on the bottom, like you can see. I can kind of use a brush stroke to move it about and then finish the texture with a tap. Be careful about not putting your fingerprints in the painting. Now I'm going to switch back to the medium-sized flat-headed brush, grab some burnt umber, a little bit of Mars black, and I will just work in my tree branches like so. I like to start on the edges because that's when you have the most sharp paint on your brush, you get the cleanest lines, and then as I start to run out of paint, I move more into the middle branches. There we go. That's nice. We'll add a little bit of a highlight to the edge, some titanium white in that mixture, and create a couple little smaller branches as well. But I think we're just about at that 10-minute mark, so I'll just do a little touch up here where I put my fingerprint. And I will hopefully have enough time to add a little bit of a highlight. I don't know, I don't have a timer on right now, but I can kind of sense it. Hopefully maybe you give me a couple extra seconds just because I did drop that brush. Maybe we can count it there. Okay. Really nice. See, we just built that depth. We added a little bit of light around the edges. And we got a much more full-looking tree. So there we have it. That is our 10-minute version, and to be honest with you, I am definitely a little rusty with these 10-minute paintings. Again, this is my second one that I've done after that 9-month break, and it's taking some time to get back to. So with that, I'm going to add 20 minutes to the clock, see what I can do in 30 minutes. I'll include the sped up version right here. I'll include the real-time version with the descriptions over on Patreon along with the traceable, so you can check that out if you're interested. But let's see if we can turn this around and what we can make it into. Anyways, there we have it. That is our 30-minute version, and boy is it better. I'm really glad we're doing the extended versions now. Hopefully this gives you some extra ideas and keeps you inspired to want to do more. Again, you can find the extended version and the traceable over on Patreon, along with the ebooks, the hour-long lessons, the Facebook group, all of it, and I will see you next Saturday. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this inspires you to go and create something great or watch another 10-minute painting lesson. Either way, I hope you have a great week and I will see you soon. So above all, as always, stay creative. Also, I know I just ended the video. Howie's video. Howie has a new video out. I would recommend going and checking it out. Howie has amazing videos, and I'm always so proud of my little boy. I'll leave you with just a couple seconds of that new video, and I'll leave a link to the new video in the post. So yeah, plenty of fun things to check out. I'll see you soon, and again, above all, as always, stay creative.
Hello, my name is Howie. Yet again, my parents blame me for a crime I did not commit. Mommy and Daddy think I sit in it. I don't. I sit in other things, like this, and this, And this, also this. But the grass, it's just droopy. It flops in the sun, just like myself. I tried to move it into the shade, but it didn't go as planned.